Do it again. All right, perfect. Do I go whenever I'm ready, or? Oh, okay. All right, sounds good. I was like already like, oh, no, I'm just kidding. You gotta do deep breaths. Ready? In through your nose, out through your mouth.
Well, the next presenter is Jessica Vieira.
Vieira, either way.
From the Department of Education, is it?
Communication.
Communication, okay. And presentation's title is Who Says Teachers Can't Be Funny? An Analysis of the Success of Humor in the Classroom.
All right.
Now 10 minutes, we'll let you know 3 minutes, when you have 3 minutes left, and we have 1 minute.
Perfect. All right. So, why did the chicken cross the road? Today, the chicken crossed the road to analyze the research that's been conducted of humor in the classroom for the last 50 years. I know, that sounds like a lot, but we'll zoom right through and we'll get down to it. So, the title, like previously stated, was Who Says Teachers Can't Be Funny? An Analysis of the Success of Humor in the Classroom. My name is Jessica Vieira. If you are to have questions, please raise your hand or wait until the end. So I'm going to start with an abstract to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, and then we're going to jump into an overview of exactly what I'm going to talk about. So successful students does not always equal strict classrooms. Having a humorous classroom helps improve the learning environment, but our society tends to think that classrooms need to be strict and solemn in order to succeed. Humor is a tool that everyone should utilize in their classroom in order to succeed. It's kind of like a little toolbox. Teachers always have toolboxes, maybe assignments or activities. Humor is just like an activity, it helps. Now, students' use of humor is outside of the scope of this research. I'm looking directly into not really a class clown, but really the teacher's use of humor, so a teacher class clown, if you will. So, the overview of this presentation will be theories associated with classroom humor, I will begin with. Then we'll go into types of classroom humor, the benefits of classroom humor, the males versus females versus humor, because we both use them differently because of our cultural norms, how to improve classroom humor, future recommendations, and some concluding thoughts. All right, so let's jump right in. So there's 3 theories associated with humor in the classroom. There's arousal theory, expectancy violation theory, and instructor humor processing theory. Arousal theory pretty much states that humor releases a tension that is built up within you. And if it doesn't release that tension, then humor is not going to increase the learning that's going on in the classroom. Expectancy violation theory explains that students have expectations, just like teachers. Teachers, we expect things from our students, but it doesn't matter what the teacher expects, it matters what the students expect to make that classroom climate comfortable for everyone to learn. So when we have these expectations, we don't want to violate the students' expectations, and sometimes utilizing humor, we'll get into that when we're talking about gender, it violates the students' expectations of you, and you can't do that, or it kind of affects their learning. And then instructor humor processing theory can be thought of like a melting pot of theories. It's consisted of 3 theories: elaboration likelihood model, incongruity resolution theory, and disposition theory. All right, so elaboration likelihood model explains why people process persuasive messages the way they do. So humor is persuading the students to learn more. Whereas the incongruity resolution theory is stating it's not enough for an instructor to utilize humorous stimuli. They have to be able to, maybe if there's any uncertainty within it, be able to dilute the uncertainty and be able to understand the humor in order for them to learn from it. That leaves disposition theory. It is the effective elements that the humor utilizes. So it matters who the butt of the joke is. If I was to call out Ariana and be like, Ariana, but Rebecca connects with Ariana and identifies with Ariana, and she takes it as a negative way, the butt of the joke, it deteriorates the classroom climate once more and doesn't build the humor environment that you would want to. So this brings us to the types of classroom humor that you can use. There's nonverbal humor, so maybe that's, I'm acting crazy, or maybe that's impersonation, maybe I'm making fun of someone. Maybe it is language or verbal communication, so that's what I'm doing right now. Expressiveness, maybe I move my eyebrows, or I move my arms like I was, I'm being over dramatic. There's laughter. I have a contagious laughter. You're not going to see that today, but that usually causes my students to laugh. And then funny props. So maybe, I don't know if you watch SpongeBob here, but there's a sign that says 10 million years later. That would be a funny prop that students would enjoy. Anything that doesn't fall into these categories falls into other, and it can be used to enhance the classroom climate once more. Now, utilizing these elements, by relating humor to material, it enhances students' likability to understand the material that's coming up next. So this brings us the benefits of utilizing humor. Javidi et al. Found that the following characteristics as benefits of using of humor. Humor can clarify content. Students actually report that they learn more, and that's because muscle memory. When you laugh, you're more likely to memorize what's coming up next. And then retention rates are increased, so they're likely to move on to the next level. They're likely to retain the information more. They're likely to succeed in what's coming up next. So this brings me to males versus females and how we utilize humor. I know you're wondering, what does Jack Black and Cameron Diaz have to do with this? Well, I don't know if all of you have seen School of Rock. However, in School of Rock, Jack Black utilizes a student named Zach as a butt of the joke. But when males use butts of the jokes, it's seen acceptable and amazing and funny, and they relate to it. However, when Cameron Diaz does that, she's seen as a bad teacher, and that's why it's titled Bad Teacher. However, when she started using sarcasm rather than the passive aggressiveness, she was seen as a great teacher and turned around the image of the students. So when they use victims, it's seen positively when it's a male and negatively when it's a female. So we can't do that because it violates our expectations of a female in today's society. These societal norms matter when utilizing humor in the classroom. Females are less likely to use humor than males. Personally, I think I'm hilarious. However, students already have these societal norms that they make of us. And if we don't fit those characteristics, it's considered a violation. And Bryant et al. Explained in 1979 that substantial sex differences are inherent in overall humor frequencies, utilization of humor, and the analysis of humor in the classroom. So, you may be wondering how to improve humor in the classroom. Maybe you could give your teacher some hints, or maybe you can give your teacher and you can use these in your classroom for yourself. You can either smile more, it's just as easy as smiling, or using activities like icebreakers at the beginning, so maybe a quote of the day. I personally use videos. If you don't use videos, maybe you can do a riddle of the day. But you need to be willing to laugh at yourself and admit that you're human. When you make a mistake, admit that you're human. It's as easy as that. You can also use personal and student experiences. So you want to be able to relate your humor or your content to your students. All this is considered humor in the classroom. And immediacy behaviors. So immediacy behaviors are maybe when you walk closer to a student, or you call them by name, or you walk to this side of the classroom so they feel included, because I feel like you guys are a little alone out here. So, you can also encourage a give and take relationship where you don't just provide humor, they provide humor back, or they provide information and you provide information back. All of this is included in Weimer and Christoffel in their study to analyze how to improve humor in the classroom. All of this matters when you're communicating in the classroom. So future recommendations that I have is practice the different types of humor that you want to utilize in your classroom. Practice, practice, practice. It's like riding a bicycle. When you ride a bicycle, you learn. And when you practice the different types of humor, you'll become better at it. It's just like any other experience that you have in your life. But one problem with research today over the last 50 years is that we can't generalize findings. And the reason why we can't generalize findings is because we use self-report to be able to conclude the humor in the classroom. So students report that they learn more, students report that they retain more, students report that they like the teacher more. But self-reporting is not enough to be able to generalize findings. We need to come up with a better way to measure it. And I'm currently trying to figure that one out personally. One theory alone cannot tell the whole story. So if we go back to the beginning, we have expectancy violation theory, arousal theory, and instructional humor processing theory. If I was just to leave it at expectancy violation theory, that would just tell you how the students' expectations, when violated, doesn't help humor in the classroom. But by using arousal theory and instructional humor processing theory, it tells you the full story of how humor succeeds in the classroom. So some concluding thoughts. No matter the topic, humor can help, and I can't express that enough. I remember those classes 10 times more. And it creates a healthy environment. When creating this healthy environment, it makes you feel better, it makes the students feel better, and you have that relationship with your students. And it encourages students to learn. So I want to leave you with this. Dorn and Schulten stated in their 2011 article, whether simply using an Onion News headline as a quick warm-up in history class or creating a full unit in which students write and perform comedic values, what matters is the fun that's created and the creativity is brought to the attention of others. Thank you. Is there any questions? Yes.
Question. So I think that your difference between men and women is really important, and I was wondering how that translated that to the suggestions.
Yeah, so let's actually go back to the suggestions. I can pull it up for you. So women are seen actually to smile more often than men, and most of these, besides smiling and underneath, where is it? Telling a joke, anecdotes fall. And when you're using an anecdote, males are seen to use anecdotes more, or stories. They seem to be better as a storyteller than a female is. So everyone can utilize this, but it's all about practicing. So it goes to the males and females. But in our gender norms, males are seen to tell stories more, where females are seen to smile more and use sarcasm more. That's generally what the research found.
So I guess what I was getting at was less what they do, because I think the importance of gender difference is perception, not
Yeah.
what they actually do.
So, but the perception matters. That goes back to the
That's
expectancy.
the only thing, right?
Yeah, so it doesn't matter if you're used to telling stories, because if you violate their expectations, then it takes away from the experience that they're learning in the classroom, and most likely they won't want to learn. However, when expectations are violated, you can build back up the rapport with your students, but it takes longer. And at least for our school, we're a 10-week quarter, it's hard to build that rapport back up in 10 weeks. So I don't know, does that further answer your question? Or
A little bit, but I think that's a point of clarification.
Yeah.
As you move forward, I think this is something that really needs to be explored and done.
Okay, sounds good.
I had a comment about, you said at the end, no matter the topic, like humor is
Yeah.
effective, right? Something like that.
Yeah, so like history, math, everything.
Yeah, I don't know if you took into account the level of instruction, because, obviously, teaching at a university, with 100 students in a classroom is not the same as teaching in high school.
I did, and in my research I actually found, I'm sorry to cut you off, is that it doesn't matter the level. Using humor helps. So I actually teach here at Cal State San Bernardino as well, and there's actually a full-time PhD professor that uses humor in his classroom. His name's Dr.